What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be checking out a title called Tin Can. I've put about 8 hours into this game, so this is one of those odd cases where I don't think that it actually counts as a first impressions video. You guys are just gonna have to forgive me, but if you've never seen Tin Can before, this is a game where you are a janitor that is stranded in an escape pod, and you have to survive a certain amount of time before the rescue ship comes and picks you up. And that's where the game really gets interesting and granular, is because there's lots of different systems for you to babysit, there's lots of things for you to look after and make sure are working, there's events that are gonna kind of mess with your plans, and I think the game is really entertaining. I've actually super enjoyed my time with it. It's pretty rare that I get a game and I dump like 8 hours straight into it. Usually I'll put in like 2 hours, I'll be like, okay, this is worthy of a video right here, and then I'll kind of, put it on the shelf, I guess, to maintain some level to maintain some level of first impressions. This one I couldn't help it. I just had to keep playing. So, in Tin Can, I am going to, so I kind of rattled around in my head what I wanted to do in order to introduce you guys to this game, because it is pretty complicated. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it does have a full tutorial. I highly recommend you play that full tutorial before you dive on into the main game, because it's all going to be kind of confusing if you don't. But anyways, I'm going to take us into sandbox mode first, and I'm going to kind of talk you through all the systems that we have available on our craft. That way, once I start playing the game proper, in order to do the impressions of the game, you will know what is going on. But since this is a fast-paced game, I'm not really going to have time to stop and talk about what it is that I'm doing and rationalize it. And so kind of like breaking you guys in sandbox mode is probably the best way to bring you on board without being too confusing. So if after watching this video you wanted to get the game for yourself, it's been in early access for a long time, it's officially out in 1.0. I took a little while to make this video because there were some bugs on release, but it seems like most of them have been crushed at this point. In fact, this video is a re-record because one of the bugs we came across in the original recording of this game got fixed, and so I felt like it was not fair to like upload the video while it was still showing off that bug, since the developers took care of it. The link is down below in the description for Tin Can if you wanted to play it. You'll also find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream in case you wanted to hang out live. Let's go into sandbox mode. Alright, so welcome to the pod. This is the entire game. Us inside of a pod. So let's get to work. We're going to talk about some of the important systems that are on this pod that are going to keep you alive. We'll start over here. This is the main computer. The main computer basically gives you a readout and lets you know exactly what's wrong with your craft and what things are working and are not working. And then on top of that, every single other system in this game has like a little monitor on it, and it's got an error list. What this does is it translates the errors that are going to come up. So typically what will happen is if something is wrong with a system, it'll give you error warning EX92 or something. And then you got to go into this little guidebook right here, and you've got to look up what that error is so that you know what to fix. The main computer, it actually translates that for you, so it tells you in flat, plain English what's wrong. It'll be like replace filter. So this is a pretty important piece of hardware, and one of the cool things about this game is that everything can be opened up like a PC cabinet, basically, and you can take a look inside and there's parts, and we can swap things in, we can swap things out, we can use one part to make another system work. All of these systems use the exact same parts, with the exception of the generator, which uses grande-sized versions of all the parts, which you can't really replace. You gotta repair them. And so anyways, this right here is the cooling system. It's got a nitrogen bottle inside the cabinet right here. It's got power connectors. It's got batteries. It's got all kinds of good stuff. This basically maintains the temperature inside the pod so that you don't freeze or burn to death. Over here, we have the beacon. This beacon right here is usually in the normal game mode. You've got to keep the beacon running for X amount of time in order to win. And so you need to keep this powered, otherwise you're not moving towards victory. But right now I can't really show you anything about it because it's disabled in the sandbox mode. This is the emergency light system. If we turn on the main house lights, this is the red lights that are on right now. This is the house lights. It's got parts as well. Over here on the right-hand side, this is going to be where most of the business takes place while you're playing the game. Like, I'd say probably about 80% of your time is going to be just in front of this cabinet right here. So this is a synopsis of all your systems. And the nice thing about this is that it is running no matter what else goes wrong with your pod. This is not connected to any battery source. It is not reliant on anything in the ship. You can always figure out what's going on by looking at this panel, even if the power is out, even if your monitors and your error lists are not up. This guy persists. And so we've got the temperature of the atomic pile. If you're wondering where the atomic generator is, it's right here in the ceiling. There it is. And so down it comes. Little piece of advice, don't take off the atomic shield. You can, but it is a god-awful idea, and something bad's going to happen to you. This thing generates electricity based on how hot it is, and various events can affect that. We'll go ahead and put that back up real quick. And then over here, we have our emitter. The emitter is basically a readout of how much power you're producing versus how much you need. I might have this backwards, but if I remember correctly, the red needle is how much you need. The blue is how much you're producing with your atomic pile. We have our O2 meter. You want that to be around 20%. There will be some variance based on pod pressure. If the pressure goes up, the oxygen density will also go up, if I remember correctly. And if the pod pressure goes down, it will go down. But that's kind of like a niche thing that you got to keep an eye on. That's a very, very specific problem. There's the CO2. CO2 becomes toxic when it hits about 6 or 7%. So we want to keep it below that line. The nitrogen meter, as far as I can tell, not that useful. I don't think that in beating the campaign, I ever once looked at the nitrogen meter. I don't think that it was ever necessary. And then with the pressure meter right here, obviously want to keep an eye on that, because if the pressure gets too rowdy inside of here, the pod can explode. If it gets too low, it gets too hard to oxygenate the place, and so you want to keep an eye on that. This is the atmospheric temperature, but we've got a readout right over there that tells us what the temperature is. And then this is the breathability of the air. You don't really have to worry about it till it gets down to like 10%, but you probably want to keep that up and running as much as possible. This is the oxygen system. It's producing our oxygen. This is the CO2 scrubber. It's scrubbing the CO2 out of the air. This right here is the atmospheric generator, or I guess the pressure equalizer. It makes sure that the pressure is proper inside the pod, but usually you don't need to use it because the pod maintains its own pressure in equilibrium unless there's some outside force acting upon it. Over here, we have the CO2 recycling station. You put in a full CO2 canister, and it will scrub it and turn it into oxygen. This right here is the battery recharger. This is for sealing holes in the hull that will occasionally erupt. This right here is storage. So we've got storage for like batteries, and we've got storage for parts and all kinds of other goodies. And then this is kind of a niche piece of machinery that isn't useful until it is. So the repair station, effectively, you can put broken parts inside of there, and it will reduce them down into components. And then you can use those components to fix other broken parts if you run out of replacements, basically. And so this guy is not crazy useful until he is crazy useful. And so you probably won't use it more than once or twice on any given run, which is really kind of pale in comparison to all the other things you're going to be working on. But you will have to use it, so you should be appraised. This is the pod door right here. You can open it. There are very specific situations in which you would want to unseal the door. Once again, very, very niche solution to a very, very niche problem. We've got our fire extinguisher right here, just in case there's a fire inside the cabin. But that's about it. I've given you the rundown. There is the gravity field generator right here, too. So if the gravity field generator goes out, you have to use these handholds that are all over to move yourself around. It becomes here. I'll show you. So now we are free floating. But if I'm able to grab one of these handholds, I can move around using the handhold in order to stabilize myself. And you can press shift in order to go up and control to go down. You can do some killer sweet pull-ups right here, one-armed, so that you get extra strength janitor buff. Oh yeah, getting that bicep action in. Hey, something's gone wrong. What went wrong? Oh, the air can is empty. Well, that doesn't matter because we're not going to fix it because we're in sandbox mode. But let's go into the main game proper and we'll kick this thing off. As a reminder, the goal is to survive for as long as possible. So let's do it. Alright, so at the beginning of every single game, you've got 60 seconds to get into the storerooms and grab things to make your life easier as you play the game. So it's basically the exact same as the opening sequence to 60 seconds, which I always felt was really, really well done and really kind of grabbed onto that feeling of panic while you're playing the game. I'm going to get some batteries, and we're going to throw those on in here. I feel like they made my movement speed slower. I feel like my character is definitely moving slower right now, but I haven't played the game in like a week, and so anyways, I know people were saying that, there we go, throw some monitors in there, dude. We'll grab some air pumps. We'll maybe throw these inside of here. I'd like some data connectors, so if we could find some of those, that'd be pretty swell. No data connectors. Are they inside of here? Yeah, there's a data connector. We'll grab a few of those and throw them on into the pod. I'm kind of just grabbing things that typically have been useful in my past runs. And then we'll go ahead and hit the big red button, and we're out and away into space. We're no longer burning to death and getting turned into fried chicken on a space station that had some actual serious design flaws. So off we go. Okay, so inside the pod, we've got to survive for 25 minutes. The first thing I normally do inside my pod is I turn off the house lights, but since we're doing a video right now, we're not going to do that. I've gotten used to kind of playing in just like a nasty red mess, but I didn't want to subject your eyes to that. The reason I do that is to conserve power. Oh, good. I'm glad I grabbed monitors. We don't have any extras. What do we have in hydraulics? We've got an extra pump. Okay. That's good. That means we can use this pump for breaking down over here. And then data connectors. Did we get a whole bunch of those? We did not, actually. So we're solid on that front. Okay. Well, I'm happy with most of the selections that we made. I feel like we should be all right. We want to boot up the main computer real fast so that it can give us some warnings. But fair warning, I may cannibalize the main computer as we go further on into the game. I haven't played in like a week, so my memorization of problems, that's running on battery. That shouldn't be running on battery. Why is it running on battery? Is the pile still heating up? Oh, it is. The pile is still heating up. Okay, so the red is how much it's producing. I think the blue is how much we need. There we go. The pile is fully heated up, so we're good to go. For right now, there's not really a whole lot to do except clean up the cabin. I like to put basically everything that's useless to me inside the bunk over here and just kind of throw it in there. There we go. So it's not just like clogging up space and making problems. But for now, we've just got to wait and see what events come up. Things will go wrong with time. All of our meters are rating pretty much positively right now. Don't think we have too many worries to, like, tear our hair out over, but we shall see, I suppose. Actually, a good idea might be to get the repair station somewhat up and running. So let's get the repair station going. I'm going to put the battery in there. I think we need a data connector for, like, right there. I think we need a fuse, but I don't know. Oh, we do have an extra fuse. Nice. Okay, and then we're going to need an extra power button, too. Do I have an extra power button? I do? What's wrong? Asteroid field detected? Oh, dude. Okay. Never mind. I take it back. Unmount everything. So what the asteroid field's going to do is as we're going through the asteroid field, it's going to randomly damage parts on all of our systems. So what I like to do is at the bare minimum, pull all the monitors. That way we're saving the monitors because monitors can be really, really hard to replace. And so we'll pull all the monitors off this stuff. And then we'll throw that in there. And then we'll close you off. There we go. All right. So now we just wait for the asteroid impact, and we hope for the best. This event is entirely random. We don't know what it's going to break. It's going to last for about 3 to 4 minutes, and it's probably going to break 2 or 3 parts in that timeline. So it may get a little messy in here. It may get a little bit hectic and chaotic, but we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll do our best. Asteroids. There they are. Straight on through. Look at that space rock right there. Look at that adorable little space rock. I name you Ned. That one right there is named Ned. That one's Belinda. That one's Carlisle. And so anyway, ooh, that's a big boy right there. Maybe I should name that one something different like Euclangor because it's so large. Every time we get a big shake like a goosh, that's going to mean that something has been damaged. So here we go. First one should be coming. And it's going to leave us scrambling to figure out what's going wrong, but we're going to keep a look on our engineering interface. Okay, so we've got a master caution on our main computer. It is on battery right now. Everything seems to be okay. I think it just caused a brownout in the power, so we should be all right. First one, swing and a miss on the part of the great meteor god. Hopefully the next one is too. Oh, yeah. Did I already tear? Oh, God. Well, nothing went bong, so that's usually a good sign. What you don't want to hear is when the asteroid collides with the side of the pod, you don't want to hear like a boom right after, because that means something is wrong. If you don't know what these engineering interfaces mean right here, master warning means something is wrong right now that needs to be fixed. Master caution means that something is like kind of odd and you should probably check into it because it may lead to something being seriously wrong if you don't. Honestly, I should probably pull most of these batteries too so that they don't get damaged, but... Oh, God. Okay, yeah, there was a bong. What was the bong? The bong was on the gravity field generator. Okay, open her up. What seems to be wrong with you today, ma'am? What's going on? Data cables fried. Okay, we've got extra data cables. It's okay, we can fix that. It's not that big of a deal, but I'm going to leave the gravity field generator open That way I remember that I need to fix it for when this crisis is over, because I don't want to put a new data connector in there and then have it be no good and get damaged by the next impact too. So I'm going to wait to fix parts until we know we're out of the woods here. Okay, another big hit. Now we have a critical failure on the part of the... Well, maybe we don't. Maybe that was just the reflective effect. Yeah, we've got multiple problems right now with our gravity field generator. Although, honestly, if you got to pick something to get damaged... Oh, boy. Okay, we've got a master warning on the heating unit. What's wrong? A bad fuse. Okay, that's fine. I will fix your fuse, sir. Big impact right there. That sucks. I don't know where my fuse went. There's our fuse. We'll pop this guy back on. The battery is damaged. That's okay. Not that worried about it. Although that's not going to shut up until... Okay, fine. I will give you a new battery. Don't say that I never gave you nothing. There we go. All right, new batteries up in there. We have problems on this side. Let's go ahead and get some monitors going. Everything's starting to go off right now. That's normal. Nobody panic. Everything's going to be okay. What we need to do is our oxygen bottle is empty, so we need to swap that out. And then over here, our CO2 bottle is full, so we need to swap that out. This guy has a dirty filter, so we'll blow that out real fast. And then this guy right here, what else is wrong with you? Nothing? Okay, we'll turn off all the caution lights and everything. Over here, nothing's wrong, so master caution turned off. What was wrong with you, baby? What was wrong with you? Let's see. I need the warning when something bad happens here. Okay, so nothing's wrong with the generator. We can close that off. That's great. This needs a new data connector, which is fine. So I'm going to strip the data connector from over here. I don't remember where I pulled the data out of. I don't remember. Oh, God. There it is. Okay. A bad power connector. So I'm going to have to kill the gravity for a second. And we're going to have to get a power connector. And I need to pull that power connector. Oh, it's a large power connector? Oh, no. Okay, that's bad. That's not good. We don't really have a replacement for that. I'm going to turn that back on for a second, and let me look. We do actually have a new power connector, so I got to turn you off. And I'm going to drop you right there. Drop you right there. There we go. Keep track of your parts. Otherwise, you can spend a lot of time reattaching parts that are no longer any good. There we go. We fixed everything up. We still have no system warnings. This guy can be cannibalized, so we'll throw you over there. And then this power connector here needs to go back in storage, I would think. I'm going to try to fix that since we don't have too many of them. I'm going to put that bad battery inside of there and the bad fuse inside of there. This might be a terrible idea. It might catch fire, but we'll see. Electronic storage, get the data connector. Please don't catch fire. Okay, it didn't catch fire. We're firing on all cylinders here. We're going to be all right. I'm going to dismantle that real fast so we know that that pump's broken so we can throw it into the bed. That power connector is not... What's going on? Gravitational singularity is happening and the pressure is rising? Okay. We're going to dismantle you so that we have the parts to fix something else. We'll throw that inside of there, and let's look. I don't see anything going wrong just yet. I do need to start converting our CO2 into oxygen, though. Otherwise, we're going to have a real bad time. So I'll throw that in there. This event shouldn't be too bad. Shouldn't be, he said. But it can be kind of hard to say. Like, this event is usually not a problem, but it can be a problem. So I'm going to try and get everything stored up real fast. I would like to fix that fuse before too long, but I also want my cannibalized power connector back. There we go. I think that power connector was bad, wasn't it? Don't we have another power connector? No, it was a big power connector. Okay, so that power connector's fine. And that's what I mean, is this game is kind of about, like, frenetic. Oh, it's starting to happen. Okay, so what you're going to see is as the pressure goes up, the oxygen level is also going to go up inside of here. So what we need to do is we need to crack the door. And then we need to watch this right here. Because if you look out the window, you'll see, where is it? There it is. We've got ourselves a black hole. So in the interest of not getting spaghettified, I had to open the door. It's moving my character right now. That's not me moving my character. That's the game moving my character. But we're going to watch this pressure gauge right here. We don't want it to get too low. Okay, so we're like somewhat okay. Let's lock that back up. And it looks like we are having problems over here. It was just that atmospherically we didn't have enough oxygen, but it's fixing it off. The other thing, we're at about 1.0 right now, so I'm not going to turn on the turn on the pressure stabilizer until I know that I need it. We're just going to kind of hang tight. But this event is actually kind of innocuous if you know how to fix it. Like, I know it's scary and it's distorting our vision right now and it's moving our character around, but it's not that bad. It's going to be okay. It actually looks like the pressure's stable now that we're kind of closer to this thing. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Pulling ourselves up. There's our black hole. There it is, or whatever the hell it is. I don't know. I didn't take astronomy. I was more of like a down-to-earth scientist guy. But either way, it's making this flight very, very nerve-wracking and inconvenient. I'll tell you that right now. Luckily, this event doesn't really cause any major issues that need to be fixed like the asteroid does. The asteroid causes all kinds of problems. This event, on the other hand, actually isn't that bad. I would like to fix that battery that I've got in there. A broken battery is kind of not the greatest thing, because we are going to be running on battery, I think, pretty soon. There's only like 4 or 5 events in this game. I think that's one area where the game could really improve. I think there needs to be at least 10 to 20 events. And when you're playing the campaign, the events are in a predetermined order. So that's another thing to be aware of. I got to change out this oxygen can. There we go. Oxygen can's good to go. Breathability's looking better. We are going to have to equalize the pressure in here. So there we go. We'll have the pressure system start to work. And gravitational singularity's doing its thing. What's wrong over here? Low oxygen atmo? Yeah, I'm aware. Oh, it's because the pressure's all messed up. It should go down as the pressure goes back up, I think. Worst case scenario is we'll vent some atmosphere. Gravitational singularity is over. Let's go ahead and recharge those cans right there. And then we need to get... I'm going to close everything off, too. I don't like it with my drawers all open. I'm a very neat and tidy person. 50% oxygen quality in here means that we're actually going to have issues with hyperoxia, which is the opposite of hypoxia. So hopefully that gets fixed pretty soon. I can't really let air out right now until the pressure system gets us equalized up to 1.0, and then I can vent some atmo to get that number down, because I don't think it's going to fix itself. I think it's just going to stay right where it's at. It's going down ever so slightly. Like, I think we'll have like 30% oxygen instead of 20, which is what we're aiming for. So there's a pretty good chance I'm going to have to vent some more atmosphere. I don't want to, but there's a pretty good chance. Meanwhile, I need to get all these cabinets open. Like, literally everything needs to be open. Otherwise, we're going to have a bad time. Kill that error list right there. We're almost at 1 bar. Okay. I'm going to swap this can out a little early, just so we can do a little bit of recharging here. Everybody's battery is looking okay, so I think we might be all right. But the next event is the one that you really got to watch out for. The next event is like a wild card, and it can be kind of a big issue. So we'll see. We are at 1 bar right now, which means that I can turn that off. And then I'm going to preemptively pull that guy right there. You'll know why in just a minute. And in fact, I need to do that with a lot of this stuff. I'm going to wait, though. I'm going to wait. We still don't have a warning. Everything's looking okay. Temperature's all right. Nitrogen's okay. Everything appears to be working. Yeah, I think we should be okay. Like, we should be all right anyways, hopefully. I don't want to get too wild and crazy, though, pulling stuff for just yet. But we should hear that familiar bong of things about to go wrong very, very shortly. We are about 10 minutes away from getting rescued. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, so here it comes. Electromagnetic activity. This is the fun one. So I'm going to pause the game for a second so I can explain to you exactly what we need to do here. Because without knowledge of how the game's engineering systems work, I feel like this is the event that kind of separates the men from the boys. Like, I see a lot of people being confused about this event. And so anyways, what's going to happen is we're going through an ion field. We're going to be struck by ionized lightning nonstop. What that means is the hull of our craft is going to be overcharged over and over and over again. Now, with the way that the pod functions, you have a generator with an atomic pile that uses heat to produce electricity. And then it puts that into a central node, basically. And every single object in this game that has a power connector that goes to the node, basically, every single object in your ship that has a power connector is routed into that central node that the generator is dumping out into. So what that means is when the hull gets overcharged, anything that's connected to the central power system via a power connector is going to get a giant spike, and it's going to blow out parts, and it's going to be really, really bad. So for right now, what we need to do is we need to pull all the power connectors, every single one of them. And so all the power connectors need to go. What this means is that everything in the ship is going to be running off battery for the next little bit, and that's going to suck. It's going to be okay, but we're going to have to be very, very careful and very measured about watching our meters during this event. We already got that power connector. Good. So all of our systems are turned off. That's fine. That's okay. We'll turn off this guy too. Make sure you do turn things off before you reach in to grab power connectors. Otherwise, bad things will happen to you. I'm not going to spoil, but you don't want bad things to happen to you. In the meantime... Oh, I ran out of flashlight. Not great. Could be better. Did I get the power connector off that too? Ah! There it is. Okay, so I've been electrocuted. I didn't follow my own rule, and now I'm being electrocuted, and I may actually die. I did. I did indeed die. I needed to pull the battery first before I grabbed that right there. And so that's pretty much how the game functions, in all honesty. Normally there's a QuickTime event where you can spam the F key in order to get yourself out of being electrocuted right there, but I guess when it comes to the transponder, you're not allowed to do that. But we can give it another run. It's no biggie. It's no harm. It's no foul. We can play for another couple minutes. But we can go to rescue. There are challenge modes available. The challenge modes are basically weird permutations of the normal game. So it gets rid of the 60 seconds thing at the beginning where you gather up parts and it just puts you into a pod that has a problem. So, for example, there's one with the opened window. On this one, you can't seal the door. One button to rule them all means that there's only one button inside the entire pod. I don't know what fireworks does. I don't know will it ever end does. But anyways, there's a bunch of challenge modes inside of here that'll probably give you another like 5 or 6 hours of enjoyment. There's also a ranked mode. The ranked mode basically puts you in a pod that has all functioning stuff and then random parts inside of storage, and you've just got to compete to survive for as long as possible. But anyways, I have beaten all these missions. Don't worry about the fact that the 30 minutes is read out right there. I did it on I have another computer that I test out games on so that I can spend time with my wife in the living room without constantly being in the back office. And so anyways, I have completed these missions. It was just on another computer. You wouldn't know her. She processes games in Canada. And so anyways, we can throw this into another like 20-minute game real fast and just play for another couple minutes while I give you my thoughts. Honestly, I don't really have a whole lot of critiques about this game. I think it's a fantastic game, and it's a really, really good idea. And I found it to be super compelling and super entertaining. Like, I basically killed about a 2-day period playing this game in my free time and really, really enjoyed it. I think it's tight. I think it's responsive. I think the rules of the game make sense. And so it's difficult to be frustrated because when you kill yourself on accident, like, you know what you did wrong. Like on that last mission right there, I was busy like talking and kind of like monologuing and doing my thing. And honestly, I had never pulled a power connector out of the rescue station before. And so I wasn't sure what would happen if I did it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have, I mean, I guess it does have a power switch. I could have turned it off. And I just didn't think about it. But because I had never done that before, you know, I made a mistake and it ended up killing me. And so anyways, that's what I really, really like about this game, is that it's like one part crisis management and it's like one part how rapidly can you think of solutions to problems while things are actively going wrong, and can you maintain that momentum throughout the course of your play without everything falling apart and killing you. And I think that that's very, very fertile ground for a game to function off of. One thing I do hope that they add is like a roguelike mode. So none of the ranking modes or the challenge modes really allow me to do the scavenging portion at the beginning, which I really, really like. That's actually my favorite part of the game, is deciding what things I'm going to grab to bring along with me. But I would like to see a roguelike mode where basically you've got to survive for an hour or maybe like 2 hours. And what would effectively happen right there is that during your survival, you get to grab parts. And after you grab parts, you have to survive for like an hour and a half or whatever balance tests to be about right. And random events happen during that time. And after you run down the clock, basically, or you keep your transponder on for an hour sum total, you arrive at another station where you basically get to do it all over again, grab more parts, and go again, you know. Or maybe you get to get like one pristine part at the end of the hour or something like that. I don't know. The developers are no doubt smarter than I am, and so I'm sure they'll figure out a system that works in order to make that function. But that's really the only thing that I feel like the game is missing, is just like a pure randomized mode that can be played in perpetuity. Because like, you're probably saying like, okay, well that's what the ranking mode is, right? Well, in the ranking mode, there's no way to get new parts. So you start out in the ship, and basically what I do is I cannibalize the main computer, I cannibalize the light for extra parts, and then we just kind of fly by the seat of our pants hoping that things don't go wrong. And that means that, like, even though the events are different each time, like, I'm doing the same opening and, like, closing each time. And so I think that limits it a little bit. I would actually very much like to see more pod layouts as well. Like, so if the roguelike mode had like 3 or 4 different pod layouts with like the lights and the beacon in different spots and the main computer like in a different spot, and then you get to do your scavenging portion, and then you survive for like an hour and a half, and then you go to a new pod and you get to do another scavenging phase, and like you don't necessarily, or even better, maybe you can take parts from this pod and take it to the new pod, which has like a new layout. And then, you know, like there's ideas here that I think could really make this game like endlessly replayable. Oh, we're having a freeze over right now. And what the freeze over does is it makes your atomic pile cold, so it doesn't produce as much electricity. Honestly, the best way to deal with this is just to turn everything off until you find that the ammeter has evened out over here. Yeah, we're only producing that tiny little sliver of electricity right there, and we need the blue amount in order to make this whole thing function. So anyways, this is Tin Can. I think the game is pretty fantastic. I think it's really, really good. I think it's super enjoyable. I just, you know, it left me wanting more. And so here's to hoping that more gets added, because, like I said, I'd love to see more pod layouts. I'd love to see more randomization and events added to the game. But for what it is, I got about 8 hours out of it. 8 or 9 hours out of it before I got done with the campaigns, and I wasn't super interested in the challenges, and I played ranked like once, like, you know, like, I'm like, but like I really, really enjoyed the campaign progress. And so anyways, my name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we had Tin Can. Tomorrow we will have something else. I'll see y'all later. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.